had a miscarriage on my husband's birthday. He said I ruined his day because I didn't cook his favorite meal. Yesterday, I, 26F, had a miscarriage. It was our second child. My husband, 27M, and I had been trying for months to conceive, and after weeks of anxiety and hope, we saw the heartbeat on the ultrasound just a day before it all fell apart. I was 8 weeks pregnant, and the baby was so incredibly wanted. Everything felt normal the day before. We had an ultrasound appointment, and for the first time, we saw the heartbeat. It was just a flicker on the screen, but it was our flicker. That little blur was the promise of a future. We were thrilled. My husband even kissed my forehead afterward and told me, "We're really doing this again." Fast forward 24 hours. I was home playing with our 2-year-old son when I felt a strange pressure low in my abdomen. Not painful at first, just unsettling. Then came the bleeding. At first it was light, but within 15 minutes it had increased to the point where I knew something was very, very wrong. I immediately texted my husband, who was working about 30 minutes away. I said, "I think I lost the baby." I called him after, trying to keep calm, though my voice cracked with every word. I told him about the bleeding and said I felt dizzy and scared. I also said our toddler was still awake, and I couldn't focus on both taking care of him and handling what felt like the worst moment of my life. He responded, "Of course, if it's urgent." Urgent? I felt like screaming. I said, "Yes, it is. I'm bleeding heavily. I'm lightheaded. Please come home." He said he'd be there soon. It took him over an hour to arrive. I later found out it was because he stopped at Tesco to pick up some beers. Beers. While I was bleeding, trying to crawl down the stairs to get paracetamol, and forcing myself to make her toddler lunch. I had to clean myself up multiple times, terrified of what I might see each time I checked. I passed what I believe was the fetus, and I sat on the bathroom floor crying, still having to function enough to put my son down for his nap. When my husband finally got home, I was pale, dizzy, vomiting, and in intense pain. He seemed annoyed, not panicked. I told him we needed to go to AE. He sighed, but he helped me into the car. The drive was silent. I was curled against the window, praying I wouldn't pass out. At AE, they confirmed I was miscarrying. The pain was unbearable, physically and emotionally. I lay on the hospital bed, trying to grasp what had happened. The life we had hoped for was gone. We were there for several hours. By the time we were discharged, it was close to 8 p.m. As we were pulling out of the hospital car park, he turned to me and asked, "So, are you still making dinner tonight?" I was stunned. At first, I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. Last week, I had promised I would cook his favorite birthday dinner. He hadn't forgotten. I was too exhausted to argue. I said quietly, "I'm not feeling up to it. Whatever takeaway you want is on me." He muttered under his breath, "For fuck's sake," and then added, "This bullshit has ruined my birthday." That was the moment I broke. He didn't stop to get takeaway. He just drove us home. I sat there in stunned silence. The man who held me during our first pregnancy, who excitedly painted the nursery 2 years ago, was now sulking because I miscarried on his birthday. He put our son to bed while I lay in our room, feeling hollow. I couldn't cry anymore. I had no tears left. The next morning, I woke up to find him gone. No message, no check-in, no "how are you feeling?" Not even a note, just silence. The man I married walked out the door like nothing had happened. I waited the entire day for a message, even just a word, but there was nothing. When he came home at 8:30 p.m., he didn't say a word to me. He walked past me like I was invisible. About an hour later, I tried to talk to him. I asked if we could just talk. He ignored me. I asked again. He didn't even look up from his phone. Finally, I snapped. I said, "You're a disgrace." He got up, walked into the bedroom, slammed the door, and locked it. I was left standing in the hallway like a ghost. Then came the message from his mother. She told me I needed to be more understanding, that her son had suffered a loss too, that I was being too harsh. She didn't ask how I was, didn't say a word about me, and all I could think was, he talked to her. He opened up to her, but not to me. I was the one who carried the baby. I was the one who bled, who vomited, who shook on that hospital bed. I was the one who had to wipe tears off my toddler's face while hiding my own. He lost something too, I get that, but he wasn't the one flushing our dreams down the toilet. He wasn't the one doubled over in pain, still trying to keep the house together. In the last 24 hours, I felt more alone than I ever have. My body is wrecked. My heart is shattered. And my husband? He's treating me like I ruined his party. We have been together for 5 years, married for 3. He's always had moments where he needed space during stress. But this feels different. It feels like abandonment. I keep asking myself if I'm the one being irrational. I know hormones are wild after miscarriage. I know grief clouds judgment. But calling him a disgrace for what he said and how he acted, is that really too far? I would never have done this to him. If he were the one in pain, the one facing a loss, I would have held him. I would have been there. I wouldn't have stopped for alcohol. I wouldn't have asked him to cook. I wouldn't have walked away. So now, I'm questioning everything. Is this just grief? A horrible misstep in an otherwise healthy relationship? Or is this who he really is when things get hard? His silence continues. We haven't spoken properly since the hospital. He barely looks at me. I asked again this morning if we could talk. He said later. Later hasn't come, and I'm starting to wonder if it ever will. I don't want to make rash decisions. I'm still healing, but the thought of staying in a marriage where I'm treated like this during one of the worst moments of my life makes me sick. So, Reddit, AITA for calling him a disgrace? Because right now, that's exactly how he feels to me.